I walked outside that morning expecting nothing more exciting than a cup of coffee and a quiet sunrise. But instead I found a tow truck in my driveway, engine rumbling, chains already lowered, and a driver leaning toward my $100,000 Dodge Charger like he'd been sent to retrieve stolen government property. And behind him stood the HOA president, Marilyn Porter, arms crossed, chest puffed out, telling the man to remove the impersonation vehicle immediately. She had no idea she'd just declared war on a traffic lieutenant. My name is Ethan Cole, and before all of this happened, I moved into Oak Ridge Haven because I wanted peace. Silence. A neighborhood where people minded their business and waved from their porches, where kids rode bikes, and the biggest emergency was deciding what color to paint the mailbox. I didn't move here to make enemies. I sure as hell didn't move here to babysit a power-drunk HOA president. But life has a sense of humor, and apparently mine arrives in the form of a pastel blazer tyrant with a clipboard. It started on my third morning in the neighborhood. I stepped outside, barefoot, coffee in hand, and Marilyn was standing in my driveway taking photos of my Charger, circling it like it was a suspicious package. She didn't even acknowledge me when I said good morning. She just snapped another picture and barked, "This vehicle violates HOA standards. It looks like a government unit. You will remove it, or it will be removed for you." I laughed. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. 3 hours later, I found the first letter taped to my door. Bright white envelope, fancy calligraphy, and a paragraph accusing me of parking a commercial vehicle with authoritative characteristics. I shrugged it off. My garage was being renovated. The previous owner had mixed fertilizer with exposed wiring, a special kind of stupid. I figured the HOA would understand. Turns out Marilyn had no interest in understanding. Every morning after that at 7:12 a.m., sharp, not 7:10, not 7:15, Marilyn marched past my house with her phone in hand, photographing my car like she was documenting a wildlife crime scene. In the evenings, she pretended to water her already dead potted plants while sneaking videos from behind the wilted leaves. The woman was committed, and the neighbors were terrified of her. I'd only been there 2 weeks when a man walking his dog quietly warned me. She got the Johnsons fined 3 times for Christmas lights. They moved out. Keep your head down. I didn't keep my head down. I probably should have, but I didn't. The letters kept coming, each thicker than the last, each filled with photos of my car annotated with red arrows, yellow circles, and dramatic captions like intimidating appearance and potential impersonation risk. Then came the final notice: enforcement action will be taken. So I attended the HOA meeting thinking maybe, just maybe, seeing me as an actual human being might soften something in her. But no, Marilyn strutted to the podium like she was addressing Congress. Within seconds, a projector lit up the wall behind her with a giant photo of my car. She had prepared a full slideshow, 7 angles each more ridiculous than the one before. She claimed my car was lowering property values. She even presented a fake bar graph showing a 12% decline since the vehicle's arrival. People were shifting in their seats, trying not to laugh, coughing to cover it when they couldn't hold it in. I should have walked out. I should have said something. Instead, I just sat there sipping coffee, wondering how I had wandered into a parallel universe where a pastel blazer had more authority than basic logic. 2 mornings later, I looked outside and froze. Tow truck, my driveway. The driver crouched beside my Charger, metal hook in hand. Now here's the thing. I don't lose my cool easily. I deal with road rage, drunk drivers, and traffic disasters all day long. But watching someone try to tow my car off my own property, that one pushed me. I stepped outside, showed the driver my registration badge number, the works. His face went pale. He unhooked the chain so fast I thought he'd dislocated his shoulder. He practically sprinted back to his truck. But Marilyn wasn't done. "Oh, no, you don't," she shrieked. "You get back here. That vehicle is unauthorized." The truck shot out of the neighborhood like a rocket. She spun toward me, red in the face, eyes wild. "This isn't over," she hissed, and she meant it, because that's when surveillance mode began. Every morning she set up a folding chair in her yard facing my house. She had a clipboard, a laptop, sometimes a walkie-talkie. She typed notes every time I walked outside, every time I started my car, every time anyone visited my house. Neighbors nicknamed her setup Porter Command Center and whispered it like it was classified. At first I laughed. Then I got tired. Then the letters started again. She accused my car's antenna of being military grade. She said my tinted windows created fear among residents. She claimed my car's presence alone was a form of harassment. It was insane, but what got to me wasn't the absurdity. It was the isolation. People avoided me. Quietly, politely, fearfully. Some looked guilty when I caught their eyes, like they wanted to say sorry but didn't dare cross Maryland. One night after reading the 7th letter, I sat at my dining table feeling defeated. I won't sugarcoat it. I wondered if I'd made a mistake buying this house, if peace was something other people got to have. Maybe I should have just put the car in storage. Maybe I should have just given up. That's the part of the story people don't like to admit. Sometimes the villain gets in your head before you realize it. But the next morning changed everything. Officer Luis Martinez pulled into the neighborhood. He was there to drop off paperwork I'd left at the station. To me, it was a routine mistake. To Marilyn, it was salvation. She sprinted toward him, waving her arms like she'd been stranded on an island for months. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. There is a suspicious impersonation vehicle in our neighborhood." Martinez glanced at me. I gave him the smallest nod. Permission to play along. She lectured him for almost 20 minutes. Property values, impersonation, community fear charts. She printed about aggressive vehicular aesthetics. Martinez kept a straight face, which was honestly impressive. Finally, she shoved her phone into his hand, saying, "Here's the evidence." He skimmed it, then cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I'm familiar with the owner of that vehicle." Her eyes lit up. "Excellent. Then you know why it must be impounded." "No, ma'am," he said, the vehicle belongs to an actual law enforcement officer." She froze, stared at me, stared back at him, whispered, "A real one?" Martinez nodded. "Yes, ma'am, a real one. That should have been the end. But with people like Marilyn, humiliation isn't a deterrent. It's fuel." 3 days later, she hired another tow truck. Bigger, meaner. It showed up at 9:07 a.m. The driver didn't last 10 seconds after seeing my credentials. He bailed so fast he almost left the truck running. So Marilyn called the police. She expected reinforcements. What she got was Officer Ryan Keller. He parked along the curb, stepped out of his cruiser, and before he could shut the door, Marilyn sprinted toward him, yelling, "That man is impersonating a police officer. Arrest him. Impound the vehicle immediately." Keller blinked, slowly, painfully. "Ma'am, why don't we talk to the homeowner first?" "He's not a homeowner," she barked. "He's a fraud." Keller turned to me. "Morning, Lieutenant." You could have heard a pin drop. Neighbors froze mid-step, mid-gardening, mid-mail collecting. Phones came out. Cameras clicked on. Marilyn's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "He's, Lieutenant." I shrugged. "Affordable mortgage." Laughter exploded down the street. Someone actually cheered. Mr. Henley, the widower next door, laughed so hard he had to wipe tears away. And Keller, trying very hard to stay professional, said, "Ma'am, false reports and attempts to tow a police vehicle are serious offenses. I strongly recommend you stop immediately." She stammered something that sounded like I didn't know. "You could have asked," I said. That moment right there was the emotional collapse. But the real collapse was still coming. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. The clubhouse was overflowing. People who hadn't shown up to a meeting in 5 years were there for the free entertainment. Marilyn sat at the front table looking like a wilted hydrangea, defensive, furious, exhausted. Mara Ellison, the vice president, opened the meeting with a stack of papers thick enough to stun a cow. After reviewing the actions of the HOA president, she began, "We found repeated misuse of authority, selective enforcement, falsified complaints, and unauthorized towing attempts." A gasp rippled across the room. Someone whispered, "I knew she made up that complaint about my welcome mat." Mara continued, "All citations issued under Ms. Porter are void. All fines will be refunded, and Ms. Porter will be permanently removed from any leadership role within Oak Ridge Haven." Thunderous applause. People stood. Someone yelled, "Finally." Marilyn didn't argue. She didn't shout. She just sat there. Small, quiet, defeated. As I walked out, she stood near the doorway clutching a folder to her chest. She didn't look like a tyrant anymore. She just looked tired. "Lieutenant Cole," she whispered. "I'm sorry for all of it." I nodded. Not triumphant, not smug, just honest. "How the neighborhood remembers you next," I said, "is up to you." She nodded slowly, the weight of everything sinking in, and stepped aside as I walked past. And that's where the story ends. Not with a celebration, not with a victory lap, but with a simple truth settling over the neighborhood like dust after a storm. Authority without humility becomes a weapon.